In fact, he chose Pharaoh for a particular purpose. But in response to what you just said,
Well,
as I pointed out, we do believe that man exercises his will, that he does so always against God unless he has been regenerated and made new by the Spirit of God. That is why Jesus taught in John 6:44 that no man can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him. And I'd like to look at John chapter 6. We need to get back to Matthew 23. I'd like to talk about world. Dave just mentioned the world. Well, why did Jesus say, I don't pray for the world in John 17:9? We'll take a look at those things after the top of the hour here on Straight Talk Live. We'll be right back.
Back to Straight Talk Live, 1360 KPXQ. KPXQ.
And welcome back to Straight Talk Live. My name is James White. Second hour of the program this evening. Thank you for joining with us. Oh, excuse me while I take my headphones off and recover my eardrums. They're now in my throat. That bumper music is so wonderful. Hey, we're talking with Dave Hunt today, and I just want to remind everybody yet once again, this coming Monday on the Bible Answer Man broadcast, the third hour of my discussion with the Roman Catholic apologist Timothy Staples. Now, Mr. Staples and I had a 3-hour discussion in studio at CRI, and the first 2 hours aired. The third hour has not yet aired, and so especially if you have access to the internet, I would go to equip.org, listen to those first 2 hours so you've got some of the context. I'm a little bit afraid that people are going to tune in. They're not going to have heard the first 2 hours. We're already warmed up. We're talking at a high rate of speed, and they're going to figure you people are a bunch of wackos. So listen on the internet if you can. But Monday afternoon, 4 o'clock here in the Phoenix area on the Bible Answer Man broadcast, third hour debate with Tim Staples. A lot of discussion of Mary and the Marian dogmas in that particular program. So make sure to tune that in. I think you will find it to be most interesting. As I mentioned, we're talking with Dave Hunt. He wrote a response to a letter from a reader of the Berean Call in response to Calvinism, and I think it's been very clearly brought out that there are some real disagreements here, and I want to keep in the forefront of our mind, especially in this hour, and we will start taking calls at 6:30, so in about a half an hour, we'll get the calls in, as many as we can in the last half hour. But between now and 6:30, Dave, there's two things. You said at the beginning, you go with the Bible, and that's what we need to go with, and that is why I am a Calvinist, is because I am convinced that this is true from Scripture. There are two passages, then, that I would like to really focus upon over the course of the next 25 minutes to really give the audience an opportunity to really focus in upon them, open their Bibles, read with us as we go through these passages. And that'll be John. My request will be John chapter 6, verses 37 to 39 especially. But I want to go back because we sort of left it hanging and didn't discuss it. Matthew chapter 23, you said in your article, Christ could not state more clearly that he truly wants to bless them and that they have rejected him. And one of the statements that you made in briefly responding to Matthew chapter 23 was that, it doesn't really matter if it's two different groups here, that Jerusalem is all the people of Jerusalem, and so the idea is still that there's this unwillingness on their part. God tries, but they're unwilling, and that's why they're not gathered. And if you recall, what I had said to you was there's two different groups in view here. The ones who are unwilling are not the ones that Jesus says he's trying to draw, that he's trying to gather together, that instead this is a parallel to Matthew 23:13, and that in point of fact, this is, I think, a reference to the deity of Christ, as you said, because you have this statement on Jesus' part, how often I wanted to gather your children together, and you were unwilling. That is, the Jewish leaders who have been attacked throughout the passage, they were the ones who were unwilling that the Lord would minister to those who were under their authority. So in light, can you tell me, is there anything about what I just said that is contradicted by the text itself? Or do you just disagree with that interpretation for other reasons?
Well, I agree I disagree with the interpretation. I mean, who is unwilling? According to Calvinism, everybody's unwilling.
If we're talking about salvation, I don't even believe this is talking about salvation. What is the unwilling in Matthew 23, Dave, is that Jesus says, I want to gather your children together. But you were unwilling that I gather your children together. So that's obviously not the same thing as saying that you're unwilling to embrace Christ. I would agree that if we were talking about a salvation here, that everyone is unwilling unless that heart of stone is taken out and they're given a heart of flesh. But in this context, would you at least agree that what you said in your newsletter at this point, that a Reformed person would have a solid ground for saying, no, that's not what Jesus is saying in that passage, especially the way it was cited?
Well, it's clear. He says, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Then he's talking about, thou that killest the prophets and stonest them that are sent unto thee. Now that sounds like everybody.
Well, what about verse 35?
How often would I have gathered together thy children?
Mm-hmm.
Those are not the children of the rabbis or the religious leaders.
Who are they?
They're the children they're everybody. The children of Jerusalem. That's everybody that lives there.
But you just said Jerusalem was everybody.
Yes, that's right.
So
that's who he's talking about. So when he talks about, O daughter of Jerusalem, in Zechariah 9:9, for example, rejoice, O daughter of Jerusalem, shout for joy. Behold, your king cometh. Does it mean he's just the king of the daughters? He's not talking just to the daughters. He's addressing all of the people of Jerusalem. Furthermore,
okay, Dave. Let's stay in the passage, though. Are you going to stay in the passage?
I'm in the passage.
Okay.
Wait a minute. This is a related passage.
Okay.
This is the very thing that he's talking about. He's coming to Jerusalem. So verse 39 says, Ye shall not see me henceforth, till ye shall say, Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
This must be the same ones to whom he says, Ye would not. Well, are these ye would nots, these religious leaders that you say are the ones he's talking about there who would not, are they one day then going to bless him? No, he's talking to all of Israel, I believe.
Well, actually, I would point out that every knee shall bow